So when President Cyril Ramaphosa plunged us into hard lockdown just over a year ago, he also announced a temporary COVID-19 grant. We find out how helpful it's been in bettering lives. Our reporters around the country are getting a sense of whether it's made a difference in these tough times. Ronald is in Mitchell's Plain and Lethiwe in Pinetown. We're going to go over to Ronald first to find out what the situation is there.
Well, good morning, Jane. Well, we are in Mitchell's Plain. This was an area where there were quite a number of protests this time last year, as people from Tafelsig said that, they were left stranded. Many of them were unable to work as they were on hard lockdown. And the demands were over food parcels, saying that the Department of Social Development had promised them food parcels and that they were most likely going to die of hunger than the COVID-19 pandemic. Just to get a sense then of the impact the 350 grant has had on some people, I am joined by two sisters. Courtney, I'm going to start off with you. Thank you so much for your time. You said earlier on you were receiving the grant, but over the past couple of months you haven't. Tell us more. I'll keep the mic for you.
Oh, sorry. I've received grant, but I didn't receive April and Marches. I was standing there and all they told me was that they're not sure when they will give out money.
And Zoe, you applied for a grant, but you didn't receive a grant. Just explain to us that whole process and just how frustrating it has been for you.
I've been applied in June and I didn't get any money. It's like something is keeping me back because I don't get any income and I don't work at the moment. So that's the only thing that is going to keep me going if I get the grant.
And just lastly, Courtney, just explain to us perhaps just your current situation at home. How helpful has this grant been? And since now that there's no knowing whether government will continue issuing this grant, how will it impact on your life?
It will actually help my granny so much more because we only a few that work in the house, so it will help her a lot.
Thank you so much for your time. That was Courtney and Zoe Dumini. Jane, many families here also depend on the pensions that their grandparents or parents earn. So the grant has really been helpful. This has been a story that we've been hearing across Cape Town. We will be continuing this conversation with several other people throughout the course of the morning.
Let's leave it there and hop over to Pinetown. Lethiwe is standing by, and I'm just wondering what the situation there. What have you found? Have people been benefiting from these grants or not?
Well, Jane, I have been speaking to quite a few people about this grant. We know that last year, President Cyril Ramaphosa on this day announced that they had set aside about 500 billion rands in monies that was supposed to be set aside to assist those who were affected by the COVID-19 grant. We know that last year, a lot of companies and a lot of people in South Africa lost a lot of jobs because of the COVID-19. So I've been going around just speaking to people, finding out whether this grant was able to assist them, if it made a difference in their lives. But right now I'm joined by a gentleman, Zama Ndlovu, who was one of the first recipients of the grant. Zama, good morning. I just want to know, because you were one of the first recipients of the grant, did this grant make a difference in your life last year?
Yes, good morning, my sister. It did make a difference in my life, but even though it just ended up as if there's nothing existing, because they only paid me once, then after that it went off, and then appeal, and then they responded again. They said, okay, they are working on the appeal, and then in December, surprisingly, it was December 24th, where they put my money on my bank account. I was like shocked because I was only declined for the rest of the month. But I would like to thank my president for what he has done for the nation. It shows that he is a caring president. He's looking after his people very well.
You were also saying that at the time you were unemployed and this money actually assisted you in looking for a job.
Oh yes, my sister, it helped me a lot, even though it put me in some debts because I used to ask some neighbors maybe for money because I was expecting this money to be paid out. And then all I find out that it doesn't paid out. Then I had to go back to my neighbors and say, no, guys, I'm waiting for this money to be paid up. When it's paid up, I'm going to come back and pay them off. But it helped me a lot.
Thank you so much, Sam. So, Jane, coming back to you in studio, he's basically explaining that he was one of the recipients who was the first person to receive the grant, but following the payment, the first payment, after that for 6 months he was actually not receiving the grant and he was declined. He did apply again, and in December he was able to get a payout, but he's saying that this money has been very helpful to him in finding a job, because at the time he was still looking for a job.
Okay, let's leave it there. Let's go to Gauteng and bring in Aviwe. What we've been hearing is that the grants have been essential for people's livelihoods, but many people haven't received it. What are you finding there?
Well, it's a two-sided coin, Jane. Some are helpful, are grateful for the help that they've received via the SRD grant, but there are others that say that they've only received it a number of times and then they stopped receiving that payment. There are even calls and petitions, in fact, to extend the grant. We understand it's coming to an end in April, but there are calls and petitions to extend it. There's a WhatsApp group from the Pay the Grants associations that's planning to picket in a lot of parts around South Africa, just around their grievances, and they're saying that this grant should be extended until it becomes a basic income support grant. But I am joined by one of the first recipients of the grant, Lorraine Masomola. Thank you for joining us at eNCA. Lorraine, I just want to get your understanding and just your experience of the grant. How's it been?
Hi. The grant has been helpful, I guess, in a way, but yet again, it wasn't something that you can always rely on. But it helped me to buy data, because, you know, when you're just a graduate and then you're looking for a job and all the internships you have applied for, and then they come to say, hey, we are in the pandemic, sorry, but we cannot go forward with the internship. So what you use it for, you buy data, and that's all.
Okay, Lorraine, how's your experience been then? Have you been receiving it monthly? Tell us just through when you first receive it till this point. Have you received it every month, and how has that been going?
The first payment I received was in May, and in June I didn't receive anything at all. It came in July for the 2 months, but it's something that it wasn't. You don't get it monthly, so you cannot budget on it. So you get it sometimes you don't. But so far I just received the last one for April on Monday, but yeah, March nothing.
Nothing in March, but one of the lucky few that received in April. Now we understand it's coming to an end in this month in April. I just want to get your thoughts around that.
It's said that it comes to an end because we're still in the pandemic. We still need it. We still need to buy data and to make copies, to send out CVs and all that. So now you ask yourself how you're going to do it, because the economy is still a bit closed, and yeah. What can I say? Okay, Lorraine Masomola, a 30-year-old in Soshanguve graduate who says that they don't have a job, but this grant has been specifically helpful in getting data to access, for example, internet, to send out those CVs. Sad that it's now coming to an end, saying that they're still in the middle of the pandemic, and it's been a relief in assisting her just to try to get that job, Jane.
Well, if Julie Madosela and others of her ilk get their way, then it could be extended, it could be doubled, but obviously we've got to wait for that to happen. Aviwe, Lethiwe and Ronald, thank you very much for that update. So this is what